Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today into a topic that I think you're really going to enjoy.
Oh, yeah, this one's fascinating.
It's all about the psychology of money, not just the usual stuff like budgeting or investing.
Right. It's more about like the hidden forces that shape those decisions.
Yeah, exactly. The stuff we don't even realize is affecting our choices with money.
Mm-hmm.
So get ready to uncover some surprising truths about wealth, risk, and what really drives our financial decisions.
Yeah, get ready.
Our guide for this deep dive is Morgan Housel's brilliant book, The Psychology of Money.
Have you read it?
I have. So good.
It's one of my favorites for sure. It really gets you thinking differently about money.
One of the things that really hit me was how much our personal experiences, especially during those big financial events, shape how we view money.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone brings their own baggage to the table, right?
Yeah, and the Housel's example of the Great Recession just
Right.
totally brought it home for me. It made me realize that even if we understand a financial crisis intellectually, like in our heads,
Yeah.
it's just so different from actually living through it.
You can't really grasp it until you've been there, right?
Exactly. It's like those who went through 2008 firsthand might still be super risk averse, even now.
Oh, for sure.
Like, even though the economy's doing okay now, those scars run deep.
Totally. Their financial decisions are still shaped by that experience.
So it's a reminder to be, more understanding of how other people approach money, right?
Yeah.
What might seem irrational to us, like, why are they doing that?
Uh-huh.
It can make perfect sense when we consider their background, their experiences.
Their history with money.
Right. And this leads into another big theme, the whole look versus risk thing.
Ooh, yeah. That's a good one.
We like to think success is all about hard work, but luck plays a bigger role than we like to admit, I think.
It's true. I mean, look at someone like Bill Gates.
That's exactly who I was thinking of.
I know, right? Housel tells this great story about Gates. One of the wealthiest people ever, but a huge part of his success was simply having access to a computer in high school.
Back then, that was like winning the lottery.
I know, and that one seemingly random event.
Like, how did that even happen?
It shaped everything. Microsoft, the entire tech industry, even the way we live today. It's wild.
Makes you wonder, what's the high school computer happening right now,
What's flying under the radar?
What's going to create the next Bill Gates?
You never know.
It's mind-blowing.
It highlights how investing isn't just about being smart and picking the right stocks.
Yeah.
There are all these outside forces.
Those lucky breaks or like bad timing,
Exactly.
huge factors.
I mean, it's not to say effort doesn't matter, but it's about having a realistic view, I think.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Because we see the success but not the whole story.
Right. We don't see all the pieces that had to fall into place.
And that leads us to something that always gets me, the never-ending desire for more.
Oh, that's a bottomless pit.
It is. Even people who've achieved incredible financial success,
Yeah.
they fall into this trap too.
It's wild. You look at cases like Rajat Gupta, Bernie Madoff, super wealthy.
And they risked it all.
For even more, what's the point?
What drives that?
Yeah.
It's baffling to me.
Housel argues that the whole idea of enough is way more psychological than financial.
Yeah.
It's about that internal satisfaction.
Uh-huh.
And even for the super rich, that can be so hard to find.
Oh, absolutely.
So no matter how much you accumulate.
Those goalposts keep moving.
Right. Which is why it's so crucial to define what enough means for you personally.
It's like, what brings you that sense of peace? That you're good?
Yeah, that you don't need to keep chasing.
Yeah. What does that actually look like in your life?
It might mean creating a budget based on your values. So you're spending on things that actually matter to you.
Oh, I like that. Value-based budget. That's good.
Or setting a specific goal.
Yeah.
Like once I hit this number, I'll have freedom and security.
It's like stepping off that treadmill where you're always running,
Uh-huh.
but never getting anywhere.
Exactly. And that brings us to the power of compounding, which is just mind-blowing when you really think about it.
Oh, tell me about it.
You're dealing with a powerful force when even Warren Buffett credits it for his fortune.
It's like the secret sauce, right?
Right. And Housel points out that the majority of Buffett's billions, like $84 billion,
Wow.
were made after he turned 50.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
That just doesn't compute.
I know, right?
Like, our brains aren't wired for that kind of slow, steady growth.
But we want it now.
Exactly. We want the instant gratification.
But compounding, it just quietly does its thing in the background.
Yeah.
Small, consistent investments made early on
Yeah.
snowball into massive wealth over time.
That's huge, especially for those just starting out.
Even if it's a little bit now, starting early and staying consistent can change everything.
Because of compounding.
It's magic.
Bad.
But, perhaps even more important than picking the perfect investments is simply staying in the game.
Oh, that's good.
Housel has this quote, "The key to financial success is not brilliance, it's survival."
That is a great quote.
Right. It's a total mindset shift.
Yeah.
It's not about hitting home runs. It's about avoiding those big strikeouts that wipe you out.
Catastrophic strikeout.
Exactly. Long-term thinking, sustainability, those are key.
So true. But while avoiding mistakes is super important, sometimes the biggest wins come from those unpredictable events.
Oh, you mean the tail event?
Yeah, the tail events. Tell me more about those again. I love that idea.
Okay, so picture a bell curve.
Yeah.
Most events cluster in the middle, right?
Okay.
But out on those edges, those tails, are the extreme outcomes.
Both good and bad.
Right. Think of it like the rise of a totally new company or a social movement that changes everything.
Or an invention that changes the world.
Yeah. Outcomes that seemed unlikely, but when they happened, they had this massive impact.
So those are tail events. I love that term.
And this applies to investing too.
How so?
Being right, even a small percentage of the time,
Mm-hmm.
but on the right side of those tail events
Oh, I see.
can lead to huge wins.
It's not about getting it right every time. It's about being in the right place at the right time.
Kind of, yeah. It's about recognizing those potentially huge opportunities, those game changers.
Yeah, and being willing to take a chance.
Calculated risks, of course.
Right. Calculated risk.
Not just any crazy gamble.
It's making me think about risk differently.
That's what it's all about. Understanding the kinds of risk.
Yeah.
Good risk is strategic, it helps you reach your goals, and it could lead to big rewards.
But bad risk is, like, reckless.
Driven by fear or greed,
Oh,
the
yeah.
kind of thing that can wreck your plans entirely.
Got it. But ultimately, we're here to explore the psychology of money.
The heart of the matter.
Right. And Housel argues that true wealth isn't just about, the dollar amount.
It's not about the numbers.
It's about having control over your time.
freedom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like imagine you wake up every day and get to choose how you spend your time, who you're with, what you do.
That's the dream.
That's true wealth, not just a big bank account.
It's about the options.
The options and the control that money provides.
Exactly.
It's powerful.
It's about buying back your time and your energy.
Your mental space.
So true. And it makes us think about finances in a values-driven way.
Like, what kind of life do you want to buy with your money?
What's important to you?
Right. And speaking of how we use our money, there's this thing called the man in the car paradox.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, so remind me, what's that all about again?
It's the idea that, we think people are as impressed with our stuff as we are.
Oh, like my new car.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just not true.
They're not impressed.
Most people are too busy with their own lives, their own stuff, to even notice.
So we're driving around feeling proud.
In our fancy car.
Yeah, and the audience we're trying to impress doesn't even care.
It's like they're not even there.
It's kind of sad when you think about it.
It is. It makes you realize that material possessions don't actually bring happiness or, real connection with people.
They're just things.
Yeah, just things. So it's about being more mindful.
Mindful of our spending.
Yeah, ask yourself, am I buying this because I actually want it?
Or because I need it.
Right. Or am I trying to impress someone who doesn't even care?
That's a good question to ask yourself.
And it leads us to a concept that might surprise you. Stealth wealth.
Ooh, stealth wealth. Tell me more. I like the sound of that.
It's the idea that true wealth is often hidden, It's about recognizing the power of what you don't spend.
But so what you don't see.
Exactly. Imagine someone who lives modestly, drives an older car, doesn't wear flashy clothes.
Okay, I'm picturing them.
They might not look wealthy, but they could have a huge investment portfolio, no debt, a big emergency fund.
So they have peace of mind, security.
Right. That financial freedom that most people dream of.
They're not flashy, but they're set.
They're playing the long game.
And it gives them choices.
Exactly. That's stealth wealth in action.
It's about focusing on what truly matters, building a solid foundation.
Rather than trying to keep up appearances.
And it's liberating, isn't it?
Totally. It frees you from that pressure to impress, that need to chase after the next big thing.
It's a whole different way of thinking about wealth.
It is. It's about prioritizing security, well-being, over those short-term thrills.
The instant gratification.
Right. But let's be honest, it takes discipline.
It does.
Yeah.
It's about making choices today that might not feel good right away, but that pay off big time down the road.
Delayed gratification, that's the key.
Speaking of which, we can't forget about the power of saving money.
Ah, saving. The foundation of it all.
I know it might seem obvious,
Yeah.
but in a world of instant gratification,
Ooh, yeah, that's tough.
like with all these temptations everywhere,
It can feel like a chore.
it can, like a sacrifice.
Yeah,
So how do we make saving feel less like a chore?
good question. Housel emphasizes that building wealth isn't so much about how much you earn.
Or even your investment returns.
Right. It's about your savings rate.
How much you consistently save.
Exactly. It's that simple. The more you save, the faster your wealth grows.
Simple, but powerful.
It is. And it's not about depriving yourself. It's about making conscious choices about where your money goes.
It's like that saying, take care of the pennies and the pounds will take care of themselves.
Right. It all adds up over time.
And the beauty of it is, the value of wealth really depends on what you need.
Oh, that's good.
Right. So if you keep your needs in check, you don't need as much money to feel wealthy.
Because you're content with what you have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It all ties back to that idea of enough that we were talking about earlier.
It's like a feedback loop.
It is. And it reminds us that financial well-being isn't just about numbers.
Yeah.
It's tied to our psychology.
It's so much more than that.
We're wired to want more, to always be striving for that next level. But sometimes true contentment comes from appreciating what we already have.
That's deep. That's a good reminder for all of us.
It is. It's about shifting that mindset. But even as we try to be more content, we're only human.
We're not perfect.
We're going to make emotional decisions sometimes, even when it comes to money.
That's just life.
So how do we deal with that?
Well, Housel talks about aiming for reasonable rather than rational.
Oh, okay. I like that.
We're not spreadsheets, right? We're humans with emotions, biases, impulses.
All those messy things.
Exactly. So it's about accepting those imperfections.
Those moments of weakness,
And working with them, not against them.
Oh, that's good. Be kind to yourself.
Be kind to yourself. That's key. Accept that you'll mess up, make mistakes.
We all do.
We all do. But focus on building those sustainable habits that work for you.
Habits that align with your values, your goals.
Right. And when it comes to setting those long-term goals, remember that the future is never certain.
It's scary sometimes.
It is. It can be really hard to make decisions when we don't know what's going to happen.
Especially with money,
Oh.
It feels risky.
It is risky. Which is why Housel cautions against relying too much on past data to predict the future.
Like what happened before isn't always a good guide.
Right. He calls it the historians as prophets fallacy.
Okay, I like that.
Just because something happened in the past doesn't mean it will happen again.
A classic example. The stock market.
Oh, yeah.
It's historically trended upwards over time.
Long term, yes.
But that doesn't guarantee it will continue to do so.
Nope. No guarantees in the stock market.
So how do we avoid falling into that trap?
How do we make decisions when the future is so uncertain?
Yeah, what do we do?
Well, Housel suggests building in a margin of safety.
Oh, we were just talking about that.
It's a powerful concept. For example, he assumes that his own future investment returns will be lower than the historical average.
So he's planning for things to not be as good as they have been.
Right. It helps him save more because he's not overly optimistic about those returns.
That's smart. It's like building a buffer zone. A cushion, yeah. Knowing things might not go perfectly.
And being ready for those curveballs.
The unexpected.
Exactly. It's about acknowledging that we can't predict everything, but we can prepare.
So true. But even with the best laid plans, our goals change over time, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. We might have this crystal clear vision of our future.
Like, I want to be here in 5 years.
But then life throws a wrench in the works.
It does.
Priorities shift, things happen, our dreams change.
Even who we are changes.
So true. Our personalities, our desires, they evolve over time.
Isn't there a name for that? Like, we underestimate how much will change in the future.
Yes, it's called the end of history illusion. We think we've reached our final form, but we haven't.
So how do we make those long-term financial decisions?
Knowing that change is inevitable.
Yeah, it's a paradox. Planning for a future that's uncertain.
It is. Housel's advice is to avoid going to extremes with your financial planning.
So no need to be super rigid.
Exactly. Be flexible, be open to adjusting your course, go with the flow.
Life is a dance, not a march.
That's a great way to put it.
You have to be able to improvise and enjoy the journey, even if it doesn't always go to plan.
So true. And remember, everything has a price,
Oh.
even if we don't see it right away. Housel talks about the price of investing success.
Like what?
Volatility, uncertainty, the potential for losses.
That doesn't sound fun.
It's not always fun, but those things come with the territory.
It's the cost of admission.
Right. If you want to play the game, you gotta accept the ups and downs.
But for a lot of people, those downs can be really stressful.
Oh yeah, when the market dips.
If people freak out.
I get it. It's scary. But Housel suggests thinking of those dips as a fee instead of a fine.
Interesting. A fee, not a fine.
Yeah, like it's the price you pay to participate in the market for the chance to grow your money over time.
So when the market inevitably dips, don't panic.
Exactly. Remind yourself that it's normal. It's part of the process.
It's the price we pay for the potential to build wealth.
Long term.
Long term. I like that.
And along those lines, it's so important to avoid comparing your journey to others.
Oh, that's hard, though.
I know. Especially with social media, everyone's showing off their wins.
Yeah.
But as Housel says, understanding your own time horizon, your own goals is key.
Not getting caught up in what other people are doing.
Right, because they might be playing a totally different game.
We all have different financial goals, different levels of risk we're comfortable with.
Different life circumstances. It's like we're all running our own race.
Your arm pace.
Focus on your lane, define your own finish line, and ignore all that other noise.
Don't get distracted.
Exactly. And speaking of noise, Housel talks about how seductive pessimism can be, especially about money.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the more pessimistic someone is, the smarter they sound.
It's true. Why is that?
If you're warning people about all the dangers, you seem like you know something.
Like you're in the know.
Exactly. Whereas optimism can feel naive,
Like a sales pitch.
or like someone's trying to sell you something.
Everything's going to be fine, don't worry.
when you know it might not be.
But Housel argues that true optimism isn't about ignoring the risks. So what does true optimism look like when it comes to money?
It's about expecting things to be bad, being prepared for those downturns,
Okay.
but then being pleasantly surprised when things turn out better than you thought.
So you're prepared, but not letting fear paralyze you.
That's it. Be prepared, but stay hopeful.
I like that. It's a good balance.
It is. And this connects to another point Housel makes, the power of stories over statistics.
Oh, stories. Tell me about that.
He's noticed that the more we want something to be true, the easier it is to believe a story that supports that, even if there's no evidence to back it up.
We like those stories that confirm our biases.
We do. We gravitate towards them, even if they're not really representative of the bigger picture.
Like those anecdotes that go viral, but they're just one person's experience.
Exactly. And that can lead us to make bad decisions.
So how do we avoid falling for those seductive stories?
How do we become smarter about the information we consume?
Especially with money. There's so much advice out there.
It's overwhelming. Hal suggests humility, being skeptical, being willing to question what you believe.
Even if it makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah. And seek out different viewpoints. Don't just stick to what you already agree with.
Challenge your own assumptions.
Exactly. Because there's no one right answer when it comes to money.
It's so personal.
It is. What works for someone else might not work for you.
So it's about finding what aligns with your values, your goals, your risk tolerance.
And that takes self-awareness.
This deep dive has been so eye-opening already.
I know, right? So much to think about.
We've covered so much. From the power of perspective and the role of luck and risk.
To the importance of defining enough for yourself.
And the magic of compounding.
The need to survive, not just be brilliant.
The allure of those tail events.
And the freedom of true wealth.
The myth of material possessions.
The power of stealth wealth.
And the importance of being reasonable, not perfectly rational.
Wow, we covered a lot of ground.
It's a lot to take in. But it's just the beginning.
Just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to explore.
And that's what we'll do in the next part of this deep dive. We'll keep uncovering those hidden forces that shape our relationship with money.
And how understanding them can help us make better decisions, more fulfilling decisions.
Decisions that lead to a truly richer life.
Can't wait to dive back in. You know, it's funny how we often think financial success is all about making those brilliant investment moves.
Picking the winning stocks.
Yeah. But as we've been discussing, it's actually more about avoiding those big mistakes.
The ones that can really set you back.
Those are the killers. Housel compares it to a tree growing, you know?
A tree?
Yeah, like it needs time to really take root, to weather those storms before it can flourish.
So it's about being in it for the long haul.
Exactly. That's why that idea of survival is so crucial.
It's not about being flashy, it's about being steady.
Consistency is key.
So how do we actually put that into practice? How do we protect ourselves from those financial wipeouts?
Well, one of the best ways is diversification.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Spread your investments around, different asset classes,
Stocks, bonds, real estate.
different industries, even different countries.
So if one investment takes a hit, the others can kind of balance things out.
Exactly. It's like having a safety net.
A financial safety net.
Right. So you're not completely devastated if one thing goes wrong.
I like that.
Yeah.
What else can we do to boost our chances of survival, so to speak?
Well, managing debt wisely is huge.
Debt can be scary.
It can, especially high interest debt like credit cards.
It can feel like you're drowning sometimes.
I know. It eats away at your savings and prevents you from investing.
It's like the opposite of compounding.
It is. It's working against you instead of for you.
So paying down that debt
As quickly as you can.
frees up more money to invest and grow,
Exactly. It's like taking off the brakes.
and letting that compounding magic work its wonders.
That's the idea. And don't forget, building wealth isn't just about the stock market.
Well, that's true.
It's about investing in yourself, too.
Investing in yourself, how?
Your education, your skills, your health.
Your relationships.
Yeah. All those things contribute to a truly rich life.
It's about well-being, not just a big bank account.
Exactly.
But let's shift gears a bit and revisit those tail events.
Ooh, yeah, those are fun to talk about.
They are those outliers, the improbable events.
The stuff that happens on the edges of the bell curve.
I love that image.
Housel argues that those unlikely events, both positive and negative,
Can have a huge impact on our lives.
they can change everything.
It makes you wonder, should we be actively seeking out those tail events?
That's a tough one.
Or is it more about just recognizing that they exist and being open to the unexpected?
I think it's more about the latter, It's not necessarily about chasing those extreme outcomes. It's about understanding that they're out there.
That they happen.
Yeah, and that sometimes those big breakthroughs, those amazing opportunities,
Come from those unlikely places.
from those things that we never could have predicted.
So it's about having a mindset of possibility
Being open to those unexpected turns.
and being ready to seize those opportunities when they pop up.
Yes, to take those calculated risks, to not let fear hold us back.
It's exciting and scary at the same time.
It is. It's like stepping off the edge of a cliff, but knowing you might just learn to fly.
I love that analogy. It's
Huh.
making me rethink my whole approach to risk.
That's the goal.
It's not about avoiding risk altogether.
No,
It's about understanding that risk is part of the deal.
it's part of the game.
If you want to achieve something great, you have to be willing to take some risks.
Calculated risks. Remember, there's good risk and there's bad risk.
Right. Good risk is strategic. It's aligned with your goal.
It has the potential for big rewards.
But bad risk, that's the reckless kind.
Driven by fear or greed, that's the stuff that can really mess things up.
So it's about being a smart risk taker.
Knowing when to hold them and knowing when to fold them.
Love that. But let's bring it back to the psychology of money.
To the heart of it all.
Housel argues that true wealth isn't just about having a lot of money.
It's not about the numbers.
It's about having control over your time.
Freedom. That's the real wealth.
Yes. Like, imagine waking up every morning and being able to choose how you spend your day, who you're with, what you do.
That's the dream life.
That's what it's all about. It's not just about a big bank account.
It's about the options, the freedom that money can provide.
It's about buying back your time.
Your energy, your mental space.
Time is the ultimate currency, isn't it?
It is. You can't get it back once it's gone.
And yet so many of us spend it on things that don't really matter.
The things that don't bring us joy.
It's like we're trading our precious time for stuff.
Stuff that we don't even really need or want.
So how do we change that? How do we start using money as a tool to buy back our time?
To create more space for the things that truly matter.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is, but Housel gives us some great insights.
Like what?
Well, he encourages us to think about what a fulfilling life looks like for us personally.
Like what makes you happy?
Exactly. What experiences do you want to prioritize? What relationships do you want to nurture?
Those are powerful questions to reflect on.
They are, and they help us shift our focus away from material possessions and towards those things that truly bring us joy and meaning.
It's about creating a life that's rich in experiences, relationships, personal growth.
Not just a life that's filled with stuff.
Speaking of stuff, I know Housel talks about this interesting paradox.
The man in the car paradox.
Yes, the man in the car paradox. Remind me, what's that all about again?
Okay, so it's the idea that we often overestimate how much other people care about our possessions.
Like we think they're impressed by our fancy car.
Yeah, our expensive watch, our big house.
But in reality,
Most people are too wrapped up in their own lives to even notice.
they're not paying attention.
Nope.
Yeah.
They're too busy thinking about their own to-do list, their own worries, their own dreams.
So we're driving around feeling all proud of ourselves,
In our shiny new car.
and nobody even cares.
It's kind of funny when you think about it.
It is kind of funny. But it's also a good reminder that material possessions don't bring lasting happiness.
Or genuine connection with people.
So how do we break free from that trap?
How do we stop trying to impress people who aren't even paying attention?
Yeah, how do we shift our focus from outward appearances to inner fulfillment?
It's a journey. But one way to start is by cultivating gratitude.
Gratitude for what we already have.
Exactly. Appreciate the simple things, savor the good moments, invest in experiences and relationships that bring you joy,
It's a much more sustainable path to happiness.
and chasing after the next shiny object.
It's about recognizing that true wealth lies in who we are, how we connect with others, and how we contribute to the world.
That's deep.
It is deep, but it requires a shift in mindset, right?
Yeah.
It's not easy to resist those temptations, those messages that tell us we need more, more, more.
It's not easy, but it's so worth it.
It's about aligning our spending with our values.
Not the values of consumerist culture.
Speaking of which, I know Housel introduces this idea of stealth wealth.
Ah, yes. The art of being wealthy without flaunting it.
It's like a secret society of the truly wealthy,
It is kind of like that. It's the idea that true wealth often lies in what you don't see.
what you don't see.
Yeah. It's the recognition that sometimes the most valuable thing is the freedom that comes from not spending.
Give me an example of this invisible wealth.
Okay. Imagine someone who lives simply, drives a modest car,
Uh-huh.
doesn't wear designer clothes, doesn't feel the need to keep up with the Joneses.
Okay, got it.
On the surface, they might not seem wealthy,
Right, they're blending in.
but they could have a massive investment portfolio,
Whoa.
no debt, a huge emergency fund, they're
Right.
financially secure, and they have peace of mind.
So they're living a good life, but they're not shouting about it.
Exactly. They're quietly building a strong financial foundation, but they're not flashy about it.
Stealth wealth is about prioritizing financial well-being over appearances.
Exactly. It's about those long-term games.
But it takes discipline, right?
Yeah.
To not give in to those temptations to spend.
Well, it does. It's about delaying gratification, knowing that those choices will pay off in the future.
It's a powerful concept. And speaking of making choices that pay off in the long run, we can't ignore the importance of saving money.
Saving. It might seem basic, but it's the foundation of building wealth.
I know, it's not the sexiest topic.
It's not, but it's crucial. And in a world of instant gratification, saving can feel like a real drag.
It can feel like deprivation.
Yeah, like you're missing out on all the fun.
So how do we reframe that? How do we make saving a more consistent habit?
Well, Housel emphasizes that the key to building wealth isn't necessarily your income.
Or even your investment returns.
Right. It's about your savings rate.
The percentage of your income that you consistently sock away.
Exactly. It's that simple. The more you save, the faster your wealth grows.
Simple, but often overlooked.
It is. And the beauty of it is, the value of wealth is relative to what you need.
So if you keep your needs in check, you actually don't need as much money to feel wealthy.
Exactly. Because you're content with what you have.
It all circles back to defining enough for yourself.
It does. And it highlights how intertwined our financial well-being is with our psychology.
It's not just about numbers.
It's about our mindset, our values, our beliefs about money.
We've been conditioned to always want more, to strive for that next level.
It's the American dream, right?
But sometimes true contentment comes from appreciating what we already have.
That's a powerful reminder.
It is. It's about shifting our focus from what we lack to what we have.
From scarcity to abundance.
Exactly.
Right.
But even as we work towards that contentment, we have to acknowledge that we're human, not robots.
We're going to make emotional decisions.
Especially when it comes to money.
It's so easy to get caught up in the hype, the fear, the excitement.
So how do we navigate that? How do we make smart decisions when our emotions are running high?
Housel suggests aiming for reasonable rather than rational.
Oh, I like that distinction.
We're not spreadsheets, right? We're complex beings with emotions, biases, those gut feelings.
All those messy human things.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So it's about accepting those imperfections, those moments when we make decisions based on emotion.
Instead of trying to fight against
Yeah,
them.
right. Work with them, not against them.
Be kind to yourself.
Always be kind to yourself. You're gonna make mistakes. That's part of the process.
It's about learning from those mistakes and moving forward.
Exactly. And speaking of moving forward, remember that the future is never certain.
Oh, yeah, that could be scary to think about.
It is. We crave certainty, but life is unpredictable, especially when it comes to money.
So how do we make decisions when we don't know what's going to happen?
That's the big question. One strategy Housel suggests is to remember that past performance doesn't guarantee future results.
Just because something happened before doesn't mean it'll happen again.
Exactly. It's like that saying, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes.
Oh, I like that.
So when it comes to investing, be cautious about relying too heavily on historical data.
Like, just because the stock market has gone up over the long term doesn't mean it'll continue to go up forever.
Exactly. There are so many factors at play.
Things we can't predict.
Exactly. So what do we do? How do we make decisions in the face of all that uncertainty?
Tell me. I need to know.
Well, Housel talks about building in a margin of safety.
Oh, like that cushion we were talking about earlier.
Right. So, for example, when you're estimating your future investment returns, be a little more conservative than the historical average.
Don't assume that things will always go as well as they have in the past.
Exactly. It's like planning for things to be a little bit worse, just in case.
So you're prepared if they are.
Right. It's about acknowledging the limits of our predictions and being prepared for the unexpected.
I like that. It's about being realistic, but not pessimistic.
That's it. It's about finding that balance between hope and preparation.
But even as we plan and prepare for the future, we have to remember that our goals and desires might change along the way.
Oh, they will.
We might think we know what we want today,
Yeah,
but life has a way of throwing curveballs.
it does. Our priorities shift, our circumstances change, even our dreams evolve over time.
We're constantly changing and growing.
That's the beauty of life. It's a journey, not a destination.
Isn't there a name for that? Like, we tend to underestimate how much will change in the future.
There is. It's called the end of history illusion. We tend to think we've reached our final form.
Like, this is it. I'm done evolving.
But we're never really done, are we? We're always growing and changing.
So how do we make long-term financial decisions?
Knowing that change is inevitable.
Yeah, that's a tough one. How do we plan for a future that's constantly in flux?
Well, Housel suggests avoiding the extremes of financial planning.
So not being too rigid with those spreadsheets and projections.
Exactly. Be open to adjusting your course as your life unfolds.
Be flexible. Be adaptable.
Embrace the fluidity of it all. Life is a dance, not a march.
That's a beautiful way to put it. You have to be able to improvise, to adapt to the music, to enjoy the journey.
Even if it doesn't always go according to plan.
Because that's the beauty of it all, isn't it? The unexpected twists and turns, the surprises along the way.
That's where the real adventure lies. And speaking of adventure, remember that everything has a price.
Oh, everything has a price.
Even if we don't see it right away, Housel talks about the price of investing success, the volatility,
The ups and downs.
the uncertainty, the potential for losses.
That's the part nobody likes to talk about.
No, it's not fun. But it comes with the territory. If you want to participate in the markets, you have to accept that there will be bumps along the way.
It's the cost of admission.
Exactly. You got to pay to play.
But for a lot of people, those downs, those periods of market volatility can be really scary.
They can be terrifying, especially if you're not prepared for them.
So how do we reframe that fear? How do we avoid panicking when the market inevitably dips?
Housel suggests thinking of those dips as a fee rather than a fine.
A fee, not a fine. Interesting.
It's the price you pay for the opportunity to be in the game.
For the chance to grow your money over the long term.
Exactly. It's not a punishment. It's just part of the process.
So when the market takes a nosedive, don't freak out.
Take a deep breath. Remind yourself that this is normal.
This is just part of the ride.
It's the fee we pay for the potential to build wealth over time.
I like that. It's a shift in perspective, but a helpful one.
It is. And another important thing to remember is to avoid comparing your journey to others.
Oh, that's so hard, though.
I know, it's so tempting, especially in the age of social media where everyone's always showcasing their wins.
It's like a highlight reel of everyone else's financial successes.
Exactly. And it can make you feel like you're not doing enough or that you're behind.
But the truth is, everyone's on their own path. Everyone's on their own journey. Everyone's on their own path.
Exactly. And it can make you feel like you're not doing enough or that you're behind. But the truth is, everyone's on their own path. Exactly. And as Housel points out, it's so crucial to understand your own time horizon and not get swayed by the actions of people who are playing a different game than you are.
Like they might have different goals, different risk tolerances.
Different life
It's
circumstances.
like we're all running our own race at our own pace.
Exactly. So focus on your lane, define your own finish line, and ignore all that other noise.
Don't get distracted by the shiny objects or the loud voices.
Tune it out and focus on what matters most to you.
Love that.
Uh,
But even as we try to stay focused, I know Housel also talks about the seductive nature of pessimism, especially when it comes to money.
Oh, yeah. Pessimism can be so alluring.
It can. Like, the more pessimistic someone is, the smarter they sound.
It's true. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. But it's like, if you're warning people about all the dangers, all the things that could go wrong, you come across as more knowledgeable, more credible.
Be realist. You're not sugarcoating anything.
Yeah. Whereas optimism can feel naive, like a sales pitch.
Or like someone's trying to sell you a dream that's too good to be true.
But Housel argues that true optimism, when it comes to money, isn't about ignoring the risks.
It's not about sticking your head in the sand and pretending everything's going to be fine.
So what does true optimism look like? How do we balance realism with a positive outlook?
Housel says it's about expecting things to be bad, being prepared for those inevitable downturns,
Okay.
but then being pleasantly surprised when things turn out better than you anticipated.
So you're not ignoring the potential for things to go wrong.
No way.
You're just not letting that fear paralyze you from taking action.
Exactly. It's about being prepared but not letting fear hold you back.
It's about acknowledging the possibility of both good and bad outcomes, but not letting negativity rule your decisions.
That's it. It's about finding that balance.
And this ties into another important point Housel makes, the power of stories over statistics.
Oh, yeah, we love a good story.
We do. But why are stories so powerful?
Well, Housel observes that the more we want something to be true, the more likely we are to believe a story that supports that belief, even if the evidence doesn't back it up.
It's like we cherry-pick the data to fit our narrative.
We do. We gravitate towards those anecdotes and narratives that confirm our existing biases.
Even if those anecdotes are just outliers or exceptions to the rule.
Exactly. And this can lead us to make some really irrational decisions.
Especially when it comes to money.
Oh, yeah. We can get swept up in those get-rich-quick schemes or those fear-mongering headlines.
So how do we avoid falling into that trap? How do we become more discerning consumers of information?
How do we develop that healthy skepticism?
It feels like we're bombarded with so much noise these days, so much conflicting advice.
It is overwhelming. But Housel suggests cultivating humility, being willing to challenge your own assumptions.
Don't just accept everything you hear at face value.
Exactly. And seek out diverse perspectives. Don't just stick to the echo chambers that reinforce your existing beliefs.
It's about being open to the possibility that you might be wrong.
That's a tough one, but it's so important.
It is. It's about recognizing that there's no one right answer when it comes to money.
What works for one person might not work for another.
So it's about finding what works for you.
Exactly. What aligns with your values, your goals, your risk tolerance.
And that takes self-awareness, doesn't it? It's about understanding yourself, your motivations, your biases.
It all comes back to the psychology of money.
Exactly. It's not just about the numbers.
It's about understanding the human element.
The emotions, the beliefs, the stories we tell ourselves about money.
That's what makes this topic so fascinating. It's not just about spreadsheets and financial strategies.
It's about understanding ourselves and how we relate to this powerful force in our lives.
And how that relationship shapes our choices, our happiness, our future.
We've covered so much ground already in this deep dive.
From the power of perspective
And the importance of long-term thinking.
to the allure of those unpredictable tail events.
And the freedom that comes with true wealth.
The myth of material possessions.
The power of stealth wealth.
And the importance of being reasonable rather than rational.
It's been an incredible journey so far.
It has. But we're not done yet.
There's still more to explore.
There is. And that's what we'll do in the final part of this deep dive.
We'll delve even deeper into some of the most compelling insights from the psychology of money.
And discover how we can apply these ideas to create a more meaningful
And prosperous financial life?
Yeah.
Wow, we've really been digging deep into the psychology of money stuff.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is. It really makes you think.
All these hidden factors that are driving our decisions.
Yeah, and how much we're influenced by, like our emotions and past experiences.
It's more than just logic and numbers, right?
Exactly. One of the things that stuck with me is this idea of managing expectations,
Yeah, that's crucial.
Housel talks about building in a margin of safety
Uh-huh.
when we make financial plans.
It's like acknowledging that things might not always go perfectly.
Right. That life is going to throw some curveballs.
You gotta be prepared for those unexpected twists and turns.
It's like that saying, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
But it's not about being pessimistic.
Yeah.
It's about being realistic.
Yeah. Recognizing that surprises happen, both good and bad.
And our plans need to be flexible enough to handle those.
So practically speaking, how do we build in that margin of safety?
Well, let's say you're estimating your future investment returns. Maybe be a little more conservative than those historical averages.
Don't get too caught up in the hype.
Exactly. Or when you're planning for retirement, factor in the possibility of unexpected expenses.
Like medical bills or something.
Yeah, or maybe you end up living longer than you planned.
Oh, that's a good point.
You just never know what life's going to throw at you.
So it's about building in a little cushion, a buffer zone.
To absorb those financial shocks that inevitably come along.
It gives you peace of mind,
Right.
knowing you've got some wiggle room.
Exactly. It takes some of the pressure off.
And this idea applies to more than just investing, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like our income, our expenses, our overall financial progress.
It's about setting realistic expectations across the board.
Not getting too fixated on some arbitrary destination.
Right. It's about enjoying the journey.
The process of building wealth, learning, and growing.
And making choices that feel good along the way.
That's a good point. Speaking of the journey, Housel also talks about understanding our time horizon.
Ah, yes, your time horizon.
Okay, remind me, what exactly does that mean?
It's the amount of time you have to let your investments grow, basically.
Okay, so if I'm investing for retirement, that's a long time horizon.
Decades, probably.
But if I'm saving for a down payment on a house, that's much shorter.
Right, just a few years, maybe.
So why is that important? Why does it matter?
Well, it influences how much risk you can comfortably take on.
Oh, okay.
If you have a long time horizon, you can be a bit more aggressive with your investments.
Yeah.
Because if things go down in the short term, you have plenty of time to recover.
You can ride out those dips.
Exactly. But if you have a shorter time horizon, you got to be more conservative.
Yeah, because you don't have as much time to make up for any losses.
If you need that money soon, you don't want to gamble with it.
It's like running a marathon versus sprinting, right?
That's a great analogy. Different strategies for different distances?
And it's not static either, right? Our time horizon changes throughout our lives.
Oh, for sure. As we get closer to retirement, our time horizon naturally shrinks.
You need that money sooner.
Exactly. So you got to adjust your investments accordingly.
It's a constant balancing act.
It is. And just as important as understanding your own time horizon is not comparing yourself to others.
Oh, the comparison trap.
Yeah.
It gets me every time.
It's so easy to fall into, especially with social media, right? Everyone's always posting their wins.
And making us feel bad.
But remember, someone with a longer time horizon might be able to take more risks than you can.
That makes sense.
It's all relative. It's like that fable about the tortoise and the hare.
Oh, I love that story.
The slow and steady tortoise might win the race, even though the hare seems to have the early lead.
It's a good reminder to stay focused on your own path, your own goals.
Run your own race. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing.
But even with a solid plan, we can't escape uncertainty when it comes to money.
That's the hard part, isn't it?
It is. We crave that certainty, that predictability.
But the truth is, life is full of surprises.
And the financial markets are no exception.
Nope. They can be volatile and unpredictable.
So how do we deal with that? Emotionally, I mean.
That's a big challenge for a lot of people.
It is for me. Like that fear of the unknown, it can be paralyzing.
I get it. I've been there too.
So what's the antidote?
Well, Housel talks about cultivating resilience.
Resilience.
Yeah, like the ability to bounce back from setbacks.
To roll with the punches.
Exactly. To adapt to changing circumstances and keep moving forward even when things get tough.
That's easier said than done, though, right?
It's not easy, but it's a skill you can develop over time, like a muscle.
And it's not just about finances either.
No, it's about life in general.
The ability to weather those storms, those challenges.
And come out stronger on the other side.
Wow. This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive.
I agree. I've learned a lot from our conversation.
Me too. We've covered so much, from the power of perspective and long-term thinking
to the importance of understanding our own time horizon.
And embracing uncertainty.
And the role of luck and the seduction of pessimism and so much more.
It's clear that our relationship with money is complex and deeply personal.
It is, but understanding the psychology behind it can help us make better choices.
Choices that are aligned with our values and goals.
Choices that lead to a richer life, in every sense of the word.
And that's what it's all about, right? It's not just about accumulating wealth. It's about living a fulfilling life.
Exactly. It's about using money as a tool to create the life you want.
To have more freedom, more choices, more peace of mind.
And to make a positive impact on the world around you.
Well said. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
I hope you found it as thought-provoking and insightful as we have.
And that you'll continue to explore these concepts on your own.
We encourage you to check out Morgan Housel's book, The Psychology of Money, for an even deeper dive.
It's full of wisdom and practical advice that can truly change your relationship with money.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep seeking that richer life.
We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic and another opportunity to dive deep into the mysteries of the human experience.
See you then.